Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the official Nerd Talk channel. My name is Tyler, aka My Name, joined by my co-host AJ Reacts 2. We are back for another episode of Originals versus Remakes in the spooky season of October. Today, we are giving you guys a episode based off the Invisible Man. This is one I was very excited to do because, spoiler alert, just like Evil Dead, I love both of these movies, and I think this is going to be an interesting one to discuss. So,
I
without
agree.
further ado, let's get into the original Invisible Man. So, the Invisible Man was released in 1933 and is directed by James Wall and Whale. I don't know. Tells the story of this scientist sneaking away to this bar, restaurant, motel, I don't know, and he's trying to stay there, and people keep disturbing him, and he is revealed to be an invisible man and quite literally wreaks havoc on the town, to put it lightly.
Likely,
So
definitely.
I saw this movie for the first time in 2020. I bought this awesome Universal Classic Monsters set, and I was watching through these movies. I watched Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and hot take, I really didn't like any of them. I was kind of just like, these are like really boring. And I get it. Oh, the times they were made. I didn't really care for them. That was just me. And then I got to The Invisible Man. And I was, for lack of better terms, I was blown away by by this movie. This movie is insane. This movie is the epitome of the word insanity. This, like, you look up the term dark comedy, that's what this movie is. This movie, if you have the right mindset, is the funniest movie probably ever. I love this movie. I think it is so entertaining from start to finish. No question. Claude Rains as the Invisible Man, he's so entertaining in this movie. It's really just his voice and his mannerisms. They're on another level. I love the fact that the movie just wastes no time. Like, the pacing is kind of rough at points, but it gets right to him being the Invisible Man and him wreaking havoc like right away, pretty much. And it works. My favorite thing about this movie is the practical effects. This movie honestly blew me away the first time I watched it. This movie was released in 1933. You see some of the things they do in this movie, you're like, how did they do that? Like, how did they do it? The part where he unwraps the bandage and he's invisible. It's like, how did they do that? There's really only one shot in this movie to where you can see, hey, there's the outline of him. It's where he's like covering the bandage and then he takes it off and you see his outline of his chin. That's the only part in the movie to where you notice it. Other than that, every single part where it's like invisible and he's holding these objects, it's seamless. And it's like, how did they do that? That's incredible. The story is fairly simple, but I think it works in this like old school, black and white movie kind of way. Um, and the horror and the death. By God, bro, this man literally goes on a reign of terror for like 15 minutes, and that laugh and he's just, oh, the scene with the train, bro,
Bro.
that is just hilarious in the worst way possible. I'm telling you, if you look at this movie as a comedy, it is hilarious, the things that this man is doing. Is it goofy? Yeah, but again, I would rather these movies just be silly and over the top than be insanely serious. And like I said, this is really the only Universal monster movie that I actually like love. Every other one of these is kind of just whatever to me. AJ, what are your thoughts on the original Invisible Man?
So I can't remember if it was last year or a year before. It might have been the year before. Tyler was like, "Yo, you gotta watch the Invisible Man, bro. You gotta watch the Invisible Man." I'm like, "Okay, I guess." So we sat down and watched it together. I was I was shocked, in the best way possible. This man, Jack Griffin, um, as the Invisible Man, is ruthless, savage, and quite frankly terrifying. And he just has this way about him, like you said, his laugh, the way he speaks, it's kind of haunting. And just like the way he says things and how and what he says really too. He's just like promising to wreak havoc. He's like, yo, I'm gonna I got a list. I'm going to derail this train. I'm going to murder you at midnight. I'm gonna throw this bicycle at you, type thing. Like it's like I'm going to do this, and he does all of it, and it's kind of insane just to see this. Now the movie itself, it's the pacing and the plot and stuff, like Tyler was saying, it's very much, you know of the it's 1933. It feels like it's in 1933. It's kind of old timey, but it's honestly timeless too. At the same time, there is like a love interest here. It's kind of lost in the shuffle with how insane everything gets, but he is a scientist. He's figured out how to be invisible, and he's like got this god complex now, like he can do anything. And it does affect his mind and things like that, but they finally figure out a way to capture him, which is a kind of crazy scene. They find out a way to capture him. They kind of corner him, and everybody's like standing in a circle holding hands. And it's snowing. It's snow on the ground, and you can see like his footsteps. You can't see him, but you see the footsteps. They finally shoot him, and like you see the body print in the snow, which is kind of funny. But also it's just like kind of wild, this entire movie. Like I don't think I've ever really seen anything like it. And I actually watched it with my mom, and she was kind of freaked out at the end of the movie. She was like, I don't know if I liked that. I was like, it was good. She was like, yeah, it was good, but I'm kind of freaked out. So this is a good movie. It's really solid, and I think it's a really solid Universal Monsters movie.
Also, something of note: the woman in the bar, that is like the waitress. This overacting was
Overacting, bro.
coined because of this woman, bro.
Over the top.
Every time. Ah!
Please don't. Shut up.
This man would sneeze, and she would go, "Oh my god!" Ow! And she like, doesn't she like fall down the stairs or something? No, I think it's a guy that falls down the stairs.
The guy falls down the stairs. She looks at him. Ah!
Over the top. I love it.
Oh,
I love it.
amazing. God, give that. I hope that woman got her flowers and then some. She is hilarious. Moving on to the Invisible Man remake titled The Invisible Man, released in 2020. Wow. One of two movies to release in 2020 that was actually worth some. Well, three. Birds of Prey came out in 2022. Released in 2020, directed by Lee Winnell, director of Upgrade, Insidious Chapter 3. And it was going to be, oh no, he was going to be doing Escape from New York, but now it's Radio Silence. But this movie tells the story of a woman who is running away from a toxic relationship, understatement of the century, and finds out that her husband, boyfriend, I don't remember if they were married.
I don't remember either, but they were in a relationship.
Her partner, her ex is dead, and she's believed that he is still alive and stalking him. So, truthfully, before this movie came out, I was not excited by it at all. I saw the first trailer and I was like, that looks honestly atrocious. I don't know if that was because of the way they cut the trailer, but I was like, that looks really bad. And then I saw the Super Bowl trailer of all things, and I was like, all right, that was good. It had the jump scare where she throws the pain at him. I was like, all right, that was cool. And And then people saw it and they were like, "Oh no, this is really good." I was like, "Guys, it's a Blumhouse remake of The Invisible Man. Are you serious?" They're like, "No, no, it's good." I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll go see it." 2 hours later, "Oh, wow. Lee Winnell, I was not familiar with your game, sir." This movie is fantastic from start to finish. And I honestly feel like it's underrated, and I don't know why. A movie this good should not be this underrated. This movie is fantastic. It takes the concept of the Invisible Man, as goofy as it is, it makes it serious in a way that works, and it modernizes it in a way that pretty much everyone enjoyed it. I really like this movie. And coming from Blumhouse of all studios, you would not think that this came from Blumhouse. You
One of
know,
Blumhouse's best.
yeah. Um Elizabeth Moss in this movie is just fantastic. She sells this like she's not crazy. We know she's not crazy, but she sells this role of being crazy in the eyes of everyone around her so well. So where she's like, "Oh, it's him, it's him, it's him." You know, everyone's like, "What is wrong with you?" She sells it fantastically.
Mhm.
Um Aldous Hodge is very good in this movie. This was, I think, the first thing I saw him in, and this is what made me say I want to see him in more things, and I still want to see him in more things. He's a very underrated actor. Storm Reed is very good. She's normally always good. I don't think I've seen anything to where she's bad. I haven't seen A Wrinkle in Time yet. I know that's the one thing that everyone's like,
No,
oh,
I didn't.
she's really bad.
Me either.
Um,
I'm just thinking about that one scene.
the Invisible Man himself is honestly probably the best like horror, I don't want to say entity, but like horror villain we've had in a while. And again, just like with the movie, insanely underrated. This man is essentially playing pranks on his ex for 2 hours. That's what this man is doing. And nobody believes her because he's invisible, which it's great. It works so well. And I can't think of the actor's name right now, but he's very good in the movie. The Adrian, he's very good in the movie. As is
Yeah.
his brother
I
too. They're
hate
both
I hate
very
that he
good.
has my name. I hate that. But
The invisible, I don't want to call them action sequences, but the invisible like scare scenes, they're fantastic. I don't watch
yeah,
bonus features a lot. This is one of the few movies I did watch the behind the scenes of, and like the scene in the kitchen where he's fighting her, that
yeah.
the way they did that was fantastic. That's some good stuff, you know. But the story, the writing is minus one scene. It's all pretty great, you know. My only real negatives is again one scene I'll talk about later. And the times where the suit is like flickering when she hits him,
Glitching out. Yeah.
yeah, it looks kind of goofy sometimes, you know. And the pacing could be better. The movie is 2 hours, and it's like no horror movie really needs to be 2 hours. Even I love The Conjuring 2, but even that movie is insanely long for no reason. But yeah, I love this movie. This is easily one of my favorite horror remakes. AJ, what are your thoughts on the remake?
When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I instantly wanted to see it. I was like, "This is something here." I'm sold. So Stacy and I went to go see it, and we both like walked out like really, really enjoying it. Um, the we will get into differences and things like that. But like the main thing we kind of were writing on this entire movie was Elizabeth Moss's performance. She is like one of the best like like in this movie she's like one of the best horror I guess scream queens or whatever, and she blew me away as far as her performance is concerned. um like you said, Aldous Hodge, I really enjoyed him in this movie. um the brother in this movie, I think I've seen him somewhere, but I it was very convincing that he didn't know what was going on to me personally, and I
Hmm.
felt like I should have seen that a mile away, but I was just so invested in this movie from every aspect. Um you mentioned a toxic relationship. This is like, it's so real. This is like things that people deal with in real life and then amplified to 1,000 with this. So I can see why people might be a little triggered with this movie, but it's like gaslighting and just toxic abuse in a relationship and outside of the relationship. Um but yeah, this movie was, I loved it. It was dope through and through. I loved the filmmaking. There was the shot in the kitchen. The camera work there was amazing. One of my favorite shots in the movie was when she threw the paint on him and you could see just the paint and he's invisible. It's a haunting shot. I love that. And this movie is dope.
Yeah,
Enjoyed it a lot.
something that the movie does very well is it'll pan from Elizabeth Moss in the kitchen doing something. It'll pan to an empty doorway, and to anybody else, they'd be like, "Why are they doing that? It's nothing." And it's like, no, they're trying to show like, oh, he might be right there,
He
he
could
might
be
be
right
not.
there. Yes.
My favorite shot in this movie, believe it or not, it's when she walks outside and it's so
Hmm.
cold. She's
You see
breathing.
the breath.
She
Yes.
breathes, and you see
You
his
see it.
real quick. It's
Yep.
like that is oh, Lee Winnell, I love you. Moving on to the similarities between the two, and literally, there's an invisible man. That's it.
Yep. The
Literally,
title.
that is literally, I, to my knowledge, that's like the only thing I can think of that is remotely similar. And I'm not even trying to be funny. That's like the
Well,
only thing.
the Invisible Man is a scientist. He's a scientist. He knows like these technologies and things like that. And in the original, he's like, he deals with like chemicals, things like that. So
And
both
they're both
scientists.
insane,
True. True.
beyond belief. Moving on to the differences, and basically, we're just gonna give details about each movie because, like I said, these movies are insanely different. So, in the original, we have a scientist that he cracked the formula for being invisible, and
Mhm.
he's trying to like make it even better. And then he starts going insane, and these people that are in his life, they're trying to make him trying to get him back to safety, but he's gone beyond belief in terms of sanity. And then in the remake, we have her ex is going after her, and she's trying to like essentially prove that he's not that he's alive and that she's not crazy.
Yeah, one
um
real quick before you move on. In the original, I believe that the doctor is pretty sane. Like he doesn't, he has his sanity. Then he takes these chemicals that, alter his brain to where that's when he gets kind of out there. In the remake, he's already crazy. This man is already he's already, he's
this
already
man
planning this stuff.
this man runs up to a car window and just obliterates it like no
Yes.
tomorrow. I was like, how did he do
Without
that?
even flinching, bro. Like it's insane.
Like, I don't know what he was coked up on, but man. Um Also, side note, I think there's an Easter egg to the original and the
There
remake.
is,
So
yes.
I think you know what I'm saying. So there's a scene in the bedroom. I love it when he's in there like taking pictures of her
Mm,
with the phone, and she looks up, and it's like this coat rack that's dressed up and it's got a little hat on it
mm,
with and you see some shades on it too. I was like, is
mm.
that an Easter egg to the original? I
I
don't
didn't
know.
I didn't notice that. The one that I was thinking of was they're like in a hospital or something and they wheel in this person that's all wrapped in bandages. And
Oh.
you could see, yeah, you could see that. And I was like, oh, Invisible Man, okay.
In the biggest difference between the two is that the original, it's like scientific invisibility, if you will,
Mhm.
and then in the remake it's technology, which I kind of figured when I had walked in. I was like, It's not going to be a potion. I highly doubt it. It's
Mhm.
probably going to be, technology or something." And I don't know which one I prefer, because like the scientific element is like it's more old school.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I might prefer that more,
I
just
think
because.
it also explains how those chemicals alter his brain and why he's so insane. Like here, the remake, we don't really know why he's so crazy. He just is. So
Mhm. Um, and then so the remake, he's just like I said, he's just basically pulling pranks for 2 hours, um, deadly pranks,
yes.
to the point where we get this amazing scene with her and her sister. They're at a restaurant and she's trying to convince her that she's not insane, and as soon as she starts to believe her, he murders her in the middle of this restaurant, and one of the best jump scares I've ever seen in my life, to the point where in the theater I didn't even notice the knife floating. I was
Yes.
so invested, which that's how good the movie is. I was so invested in the conversation, I didn't notice the knife floating next to her head. So when
Mhm.
he slit her throat, I was like, wait, what?
Mhm.
It's like that's oh man, it's so
Yep.
good. Another difference is like the invisibility sequences in the remake. They're kind of like action sequences. They have like it's a lot of upgrade. If you guys have seen Upgrade, and if not, what are you doing? But like it's a lot of upgrade camera movements to where it follows people falling and then getting back up. It's a lot of that. And then in the original, he's just kind of making things fall, throwing things at people. But it's very simple, if you will. It's not, you know, over the top. Um,
The
also
run times are different.
well, yeah, the original has like the standard Universal monster runtime of like an hour and 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah.
The remake is 2 hours, and like I said, I don't really think it needs to be. That's kind of one thing that I kind of nitpick about the remake is like I feel like it tries to throw too many things at the plot, so where it's like spoilers, but it'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's not dead." And then they'll be like, "Oh, she's pregnant." And you didn't know he was using he was making it that you weren't using birth control. And it kind of just throws a lot on there to kind of like make it like more dramatic. And
Mhm.
then when the movie like kind of ends, there's like another 15 minutes of her going to his house to try kill him. And it's kind of just like this might have should have been over already, kind of. And then oh, by the way, his brother is in on it too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, he faked his suicide. He was locked in the basement. I was like, all right, bro, what are we doing, bro? Like it's not bad. It's just like, all right, like I'm already invested. We don't need to be throwing all these twists. We only have so much time.
Mhm.
The original, it's really straightforward. For better or for worse, it's very straightforward.
I would say, as far as the Invisible Man in the original, he's like more like maniacal towards anyone. Like he's just wreaking havoc to the entire town, derailing trains, like we said, and throwing bicycles at people. But in the remake, it's very honed in just on Cecilia. Like it's really like whoever she's around, yes, but like it's not just townspeople, it's just her. So that's another difference.
Also, now that you brought that up, the difference in the original, the Invisible Man is essentially the main character. In the
Mhm.
remake, he's not the main character at all. He's the villain, but he's not the main character. Cecilia is the main character of that movie.
Mhm.
Um, it just I want to talk about these scenes that I don't really like in the remake. There's a
Mhm.
scene. There's a scene that the concept for the scene I love. I love the idea that um the little girl that she's living with, she really likes her and she wants to be friends with her. Fine. She sees her upset. She kneels down, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go get something to eat or whatever." They get up, and The Invisible Man hits her in the head, and she falls down. And then she accuses Cecilia of hitting her. Meanwhile, she's looking right at her as she gets hit. Cecilia does not move a muscle. Are you that stupid? Oh, but she's a little kid, bro. Little kids are not that stupid, bro.
She's not even that. She's like a teenager.
Yes. She come on, bro. Give me a break. All this scene needed was for one of them to be turned around.
Yes.
If one of them was turned around, the scene is instantly more believable because the concept of the scene works. It's just the execution, it's just so goofy. It's like, what? Like, how could you think that? It's so ridiculous.
It is. It's funny
I
to
don't
me
know.
though. I think it's hilarious. It's like, yo, what?
Like, I get why it happens because they have
Yes.
to get them out the house. Like,
Hmm.
again, what happens? It's fine. It's just her reacting the way she did is so dumb because she's looking right at her. I was like, what?
Right.
That doesn't make
Doesn't make
any
sense. Doesn't make
sense.
sense.
Um, but that's pretty much it. Like we said, these movies are pretty different, so it's basically just us giving reviews of both of these movies.
Hmm.
You know, moving on to what the definitive version is, and this one is kind of hard because, like I said, I love both of these movies. I think I'm going to have to say the original.
Okay.
Just because like it has that old school feel to it, and I love the fact that the Invisible Man is the main character and he's like wreaking havoc all over this town, and it's so impressive to me, like the practical stuff. But I do love the remake. It's just there's some nitpicks that I have, and the movie is a little too long for me. But like I said, I love them both, but I think I would watch the original just because it's more fun for me. But don't hear me say that the remake is bad. The remake is awesome. AJ, what's your definitive
I
view?
have pretty much the exact same thoughts. My definitive version is the original. I love both movies. I think Elizabeth Moss is fantabulous in the remake. And like you said, we enjoy both of these movies for different reasons. I can get a good laugh at the original. The remake is a lot more serious and it takes itself seriously, and the dramatic elements work for that film. So, but I'll have to say the original for me.
All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of Originals versus Remakes. If you guys enjoyed this one, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for all notifications for future Nerd Talk live streams and videos. Our next episode of OVR will be the final episode in the month of October, and it will be for the original John Carpenter classic Halloween, and that will be dropping on Halloween. So I hope you guys are ready for that. And we will see you on the next episode of Originals versus Remakes, everybody.